David with No Chaser, and today's video may at some points come across as kind of a controversial thought. Like all these videos, I just plead with you to just hear me out. But the topic kind of goes like this, where there are some people that know that their drinking or drug using is destroying their life and it is only going to lead to an existence of misery. And they'll simply reply to that, I'm just not ready to quit. Many people, me included in my life, sometimes people feel this for months or years or sometimes their whole life, where they're just like, I am not ready to stop using drugs and alcohol. I, again, understand it's bad. I know there's going to be consequences, but I can't live without this stuff. There's no way I'm going to function without this type of stuff. Now, like, one of the first things that comes to mind is, especially if you talk about consequences, is that, well, yeah, I mean, they may can conceptually grasp of the consequences that will befall them if they continue to do this, but they don't really truly grasp it. And especially this is the sentiment of a lot of younger people, where this doesn't even go for alcoholics and addicts. This is you have that kind of irrational sense of invincibility. I usually describe this as like the cigarette cancer thing. So as I was a smoker for a very long time, and I logically knew that smoking causes cancer. There was extremely there's a high risk of it and everything like that. And I would just say, yes, if you hook me up to a lie detector and says, David, does smoking is a great chance of giving you cancer, I would say yes. And it would come across as, I'm telling the truth. Yet in my mind, I would think, yeah, but I'm not getting it though. Many people have that with the really dire consequences of addiction and alcoholism, whether you're talking it's something even on the lower end, DUIs, which that's how bad it is. A DUI is terrible, but that's on the lower end, where you're talking about overdose or driving and killing somebody or losing your entire family, all that stuff. It's in their mind that this is a possibility, but it's not really going to happen, right? And so many will think, well, that's what leads them to think that they're not ready to quit because those things haven't happened yet, right? And sometimes it can go a little bit further, though. There was points in my life where it was, in one of those rare instances, it was very put in front of me that there's going to be these immediate consequences if you do this. And I still did it. One example that I've talked about before is I had an ankle monitoring bracelet at a time in probation. It's no, you will go to jail. You will get in a bunch of more legal trouble if you drink. And in my sober mind too, I decided to take it off and drink, knowing those are the consequences set out in front of me. An even more significant case is there's been times where, it's well, some people truly won't grasp that they're going to die if they continue to drink and use. I was at a point where I had a very, very, very strong idea that I would die if I drank, because I planned to kill myself if I drank. I was, again, a sober mind, not in the drunk mind, a sober mind, knowing I was ready to start drinking again, simply because I didn't want to live. Sometimes it's not just the idea that people have that I can't live without drugs and alcohol. It's the idea that life is not worth going through without these things. I don't have the love or appreciation for life, and these things are not even making life worth it. It will just help me exist and kind of just run the course of whatever this thing is. And it's in a truly awful place to be. A lot of in recovery circles, they'll talk about people get to this this crescendo of your addiction and alcohol turmoil, where it's you can't live with it, you can't live without it. The thing I'm talking about is people in their mindset where it's that second part isn't there. Not living, living without it is not even going to be you're not giving any thought to that. And I truly sympathize with this, because there's kind of this thought that not even just alcoholics and addicts, but many people have, where it seems kind of a pointless thing to really ponder about. But the time machine thing, where you at this moment can go back in time and tell the younger self all the things that are going to happen from these actions that you partake in. The thing where you run out of the wormhole or whatever, and you shake younger you and you go, David, if you do this stuff, this, and this is going to happen. And it's going to be super not cool. Your life is going to be a bummer, dude, if you do this, and this. And honestly, if I'm going to be fully candid, here, there's many times in my life where I truly try to imagine that situation, and I imagine it going like this: David, young me, you can't do this stuff. David, I'm telling you this, you're gonna like do all this damage to yourself. You're gonna, all the physical things are gonna be awful. And by the way, those are really that's like the least damaging thing. The hurt you're gonna do to people, the risk of your life you're gonna put yourself in. You can't do it, man. And younger me would be like, oh, well, that sucks, because there's no way I'm not doing this. Like, I know, I don't know if you know this, but I know this is all terrible. Just my mind is not, I have not switched to any sort of paradigm of thinking that even allows the thought of stopping, of doing this. I've heard this sentiment from just countless people, and a sentiment that I believe, sometimes it can be denial, sometimes it can just be the deception of the mind that just wants you to keep using, but sometimes I found it to be, I felt very truthful, where even people through this channel have like reached out to me of just like, I get and understand all the stuff you're talking about. I just can't. It is so like not even on the table, and that's what causes the true suffering of like, you don't even get to like enjoy the drugs or the drinking, and then there's some folly of consequences that are bad things that happen, but you kind of keep going. You're fully acknowledging that this is a life that is just going to be totally destructive, and who knows the people you'll hurt. And that sounds very selfish, but you were just, like I said, I can't like stress enough how much it's not an option in their mind, and what was in my mind too. And the funny thing is that you talk about this, and it's like one of the things I go back to is the idea of like, oh well, the consequences truly haven't hit yet, so like that's why you think it's impossible. And in this weird way, I mean, in this really sad way, it's kind of like, yeah, that is what makes it impossible for that person to think differently, right? Because what you're proposing is that like, because those years of that misery, not even just the horrible consequences, but the years of sickness and misery, because those haven't happened, they don't feel a certain way, and that would only assume that until those things happen, they will. And again, the reason why I mentioned this may sound controversial is that it may seem like I'm like advocating, or it's just like, yep, let them run their course and just let them out of the cage and just like be a tornado of destruction and awfulness. I'm not saying that. I would never ever advocate for that. I would never, like, if there was something, there's people I know that I can't convince. And when it comes to alcoholics, that's actually all of them. Like, regardless of how much I care or love for them, or how much, you can't convince another person to get clean or sober. I know this to be true because I've seen, many parents with their children, people they die for, that they would do anything for, and they can't convince them, regardless of everything they've done for them. They have an inexhaustible amount of like love and effort they're put for them, and there was just nothing they can do. And it has nothing to do with like if they were more charismatic or better with words, or a way to convince them. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, in this video, I'm not really gonna, and honestly, in all the videos, I'm not saying I'm gonna drop this wisdom that will like totally change your path. I can give insights, I can give suggestions, but this in particular, I mean, the real reason is like, okay, then what's the point of doing a video like this? What's the point of saying that, yeah, some people are so stuck in their ways that they won't change? The reason I make this is because if I can, I want to try to conjure like an idea of sympathy, because I know that like it is so frustrating to see people that their lives are actively terrible. I mean, especially, it's bad enough even if the person's really just a stranger, especially if you're a fellow alcoholic and addict, because they're making the mistakes you're making, and it's just like hard to like watch. And that doesn't even go to like if you love and care about them, if they're an important part of your life, to just watch them kind of just deny reality and just push it away and just continue this, like, basically just drinking like poison, like watching a person basically like almost like with Munchausen's just completely make themselves sick over and over and over again, seemingly just in this conscious choice. I totally understand all of that, but I think what's just it feels like there's this way where like you can just convince them or hack something in their mind that will like get them to stop, or or in a sense, they're completely delusional. And I'm not saying it's not like a delusion to believe that you can't live your life without alcohol and drugs. I'm just saying that it is it is something that is so strong in your mind when it's in it that it takes something completely drastic and maybe irreversible to change that. And by the way, if that's even able to change it, because here's even the very depressing like content here, but here's the truth of it. Sometimes, and I've been in this position as well too. Sometimes when the consequences do occur, that only pushes you more towards it. That may seem kind of like paradoxical, but the consequences are bad enough, then your life is terrible. And you feel like, especially the shame that comes with like hurting people, you feel just like a human ashtray, just lower than, as low as a starfish. Like you just, what's the point? Especially if you've really messed stuff up. If you had a dreams of like a career somewhere, and now you've gotten like felonies and all this stuff on your record, and you don't think you'll ever overcome that, especially when whatever field that you want to be in. Or if you lost like the love of your life and this family life, if you lost your children good, if the rights were taken away, if if you're in prison and you're going to be stuck in prison for a very long time, if you've done something irreversible to others, and I've, again, just being honest and candid here, I have always thought that if I drank and drove and I killed someone else, I do not think I could live with myself. I'm not even saying like, well, I just go back to drinking. I think it would be so overwhelming that I would probably kill myself. And that is not a right mindset to have. There's people I know, one of them personally, that has done that, and they've gone on to live a fruitful and great life and have given back to the community. They actually have a good, like, as good as you can relationship with the parents of the person that she had killed, and is the world is better for her being in it. And I know that, but I like, that was one of those things where I feel like, I don't know, I don't think I could live with myself after that. So all these negative consequences that you're talking about, these things that are supposed to prove to you that yes, like living a life clean and sober is an option, sometimes it does the opposite, because it puts you in such a low place. It's like, you know what, I've lost so much now. All I have left is the relief of drugs and drinking, just that temporary, and it's always getting less and less. I mean, what you're talking about is relief is just like being able to function, or being able to function in, at least in your mind, emotionally, mentally. And you get in this mindset where you're just like, no, this is what my life is. And as much as, many people will just, even fellow addicts and alcoholics who've been through it too, will go, no, that's just like, that's just your addictive mind talking. I know people that have had good chunks of time of sobriety, and they still go, oh no, like, I don't want this life without this stuff. I mean, I don't even really want this life with this stuff, but in a pair of choices that you have, I just feel like I'll select this one. And the thing I wanted to get to as well is like the people's, like, talking about being sympathetic. There's been times where I've been in meetings where people had to be in them due to court or something, or people who had to be in treatment who were talking, and they said, you know what, you're gonna think I'm stupid because I know all this terrible stuff. I've described some of this terrible stuff it's done to my life, but I don't plan on quitting, and I know that I don't. And a lot of people would kind of grimace and be like, what a, idiot, and all this stuff like that. And I, over time and over years, when I've run into those people, I have sympathy for them. I don't think of them as stupid, and I necessarily don't even think of them as just totally selfish people who are throwing in the towel. Again, I can't stress enough, the only way out is through if you're truly an addict and alcoholic, is through like not doing drugs and alcohol. That's the only way out. But I see people in that mindset, and I empathize, not even just have sympathy, I empathize with them because I've been in that position before. And I try my hardest not to like unfurl this just wave of judgment, or to think, I even go as far as to not think less of them because of it. That is just a prison of their mind that they are not able to break out of. And there's no rhyme or reason exactly what will do it. And unfortunately, if it ever will occur, and I I don't know. I think that I just wanted to make this video to describe the true reality of a mindset that plagues a lot of people. On that happy note, um, like the video, comment anything, comment hi. I'll say hi back to you like a real weirdo. Subscribe if you like this sort of content. Like I said, I've been regularly now producing at the very least 2 videos a week, and I hope that you find a way out, you find a reason to keep going or to get better. Or if you are struggling and you're in that position where you feel like you can't get out, I I wish the best for you. I hope something occurs in your life that will make a difference, and I feel for you. All right. With other than that, be well.